everyone, today we're going to talk a little bit about how to use Visual Studio Code. So this is what Visual Studio Code looks like. You'll have your main tab here where all your code appears, and we have what's called our File Explorer here on the left. The reason it's called the File Explorer is because these are just folders over here. We can click to open them, and then we can open the file within them and see how the code changes. If you ever don't see these files here on the left, first of all, check what directory you're in. So we can check that by going up here in the corner. See where it says Comp 101-18F? That's the right directory if you're in Comp 101 this semester. Let's say I don't want to be in Comp 101-18F. Let's say I want to go to Comp 110's directory, or I don't have the correct directory open, so I want to open the correct directory. You can go to File, Open Recent, and then navigate to whichever one you'd like, to either Comp 101 or Comp 110. I'm going to open up Comp 110's though. And then VS Code will open up the workspace for you. If you're still not seeing the files you're supposed to, that might just mean you're not up to date. So to fix that, we can open up our terminal, and we do that by going to View, and then we go all the way down here to Terminal, and then it'll take a second to load, but this is kind of what your terminal should look like. The main difference will be that it won't say my name, it'll say yours. So I'm going to type in npm run pull. And you should do this every time that you open VS Code. What this is doing is checking a repository that Chris posts to online and seeing what files he's added, and adding those files to your computer if you don't already have them, kind of like my computer's doing right now. Now that we're all up to date, we're going to do npm start. And once we do that, it's going to open up Google Chrome and show us the product of our code. So as we can see here, we have these different folders over here on the left. Now these folders exactly mimic the ones that we have here in our File Explorer. See that? So if we wanted to go to welcomeapp.ts, which is the file I'm in right now in my code, I would do the exact same thing over here in our dev environment. We would go to welcome, and then you'll notice that even though this is named welcome-app.ts, it doesn't appear that way in your dev environment. And that's because -app.ts is a naming convention that tells the computer that this is going to be an application written in TypeScript. You know, be very careful when you name your files, because if you do apps or misspell any of this, then it won't correctly show up in your dev environment. Let's go ahead and see what this has to offer. All right, so it's doing exactly what our code over here says, and that's to print welcome to Comp 110. Before I start making changes to code, I'm going to go ahead and close my File Explorer just so we can see a little bit better, and I'm going to do it by clicking these two paper icons up here on the left. You can open it again by doing the exact same thing, but I'm going to close it for now. So making changes to our code and seeing it in our dev environment is super seamless. So let's say I want to print, "Here's to a great semester." All I would have to do is type it into my code here. And then as soon as so you'll see that it hasn't appeared over here on the left yet, but I do have this fancy like white dot that when I hover over becomes an X. So this means that my file hasn't been saved. So if I go to File, Save, and it says here, which might be easier, is to do the shortcut Control-S. That'll save my document, and it immediately appears in our dev environment. If you're having an issue where the code that you're writing isn't appearing like you think it would, always double check to make sure you're in the right file. Because if I were to go over here, back to Home, and then navigate to If Else, and I write something here like print hello world and save my file, nothing will change over here. But that's easy to fix. We can navigate back to, we can click Home here to go back to our home, and then I'm like, okay, well, what file am I in? I can open my File Explorer. Oh, okay, well, I'm under Welcome, and then I'm in the Welcome app. And there we go, there's our change. Another important thing to note about the terminal is that we can close the terminal here by pressing this X. Now that doesn't mean that it's going to erase everything or mess up our work environment if we close it. We can open the terminal back up by going back to View and Terminal, and you'll see that everything we had there before is exactly the same. Now when you're done coding for the day, you want to make sure to close your work environment. So we're going to do that by doing close right here, and it tells us our workspace is now closed. In order to be able to access my work again, I'll have to open up the terminal and run npm start again to get it to work after I've closed it. Last little tips and tricks about VS Code is error messages. So let's say I were to misspell something in VS Code. It'll give me this squiggly red underline, and when I save it, I'm going to get this really scary error message. It's going to be a whole black screen with all this weird red text, and I don't know what it means. Well, let me break down how you can read it. So the error message will always first give you the file that it found the error in here. So you can navigate to it. Okay, so we go to our source folder, then it's within welcome right here, and then it's within the welcome app. Okay, and then it tries to give you a suggestion of maybe what went wrong. So in this case, it said it cannot find this print function. Did I maybe mean print? When I click on the red underline, this handy dandy little light bulb shows up, and I can click on the light bulb and it'll show that change that suggested, change spelling to print. And then when I save again, the error message goes away. If you have an error that says something is not aligned, you can use the light bulb, or if there's a common misspelling. Other than that, you'll generally have to use reason, but the error messages given by your dev environment will often give you a hint.